Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I'm sure some of you have seen this video on the internet known as the Backrooms found footage, and I kind of wanted to watch it with you because, ladies and gentlemen, the Backrooms is one of those creepypasta stories that have actually become a life of its own. You know, in the same vein SCPs have like a million entries, the Backroom has an entire lore set behind it. A lore set so strong that I'm pretty sure if From Software sat down and took the actual concept of the Backrooms, they could make probably one of the best horror games out of it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a video that was created by one YouTuber known as Kane Pixels. By the way, let's give it up here, a 16-year-old director and VFX artist. Now, from what we're about to watch here, the Backrooms footage consisted here is actually like completely CGI, except what we're gonna see over here is a CGI printed to a VHS, given that original classic photographer found footage effect. Now, I'm a huge fan of found footage movies. There's not a whole lot of them out there, but frankly, the ones that are, if they're good, are some of the best horror stuff that you'll ever find. Now, for a quick primer on the Backrooms, it initially started as an old school 4chan post. For instance, one of the earliest posts that I ever saw on X, which is the paranormal board, was the 12th of May 2019, way back in the day, where they said post disquieting images that just feel off. Now, for those of you who don't know what liminal spaces are, this probably looks very close to what you think. Liminal spaces, for those of you who don't know, are basically spaces that are just vast, giant, and devoid of any life, as far as I can really get into it. Basically, the best description is literally from the Reddit board. A liminal space is the time between what was and the next. It is a place of transition, waiting and not knowing. I guess the best way to put it is purgatory. And if anything makes you feel that way, this image might pretty much be the best example of it. There's no life out there. It's just you sitting in purgatory, out by a shell where the S isn't even active. So yeah, that's actually quite a good image out there too. And a lot of the people that are building some of these liminal images are actually doing it a lot in CGI. If you look really closely, you can see that there's like blender effects that you can figure out. But yeah, some of this stuff is just CGI, like old, like basically closed off areas, no devoid life, a transitional area, and that's pretty much the best way to describe a liminal space. For instance, this itself is a very much liminal space. If anything is a liminal space, it's probably going to be the game LSD Dream Emulator. If you ever played that back on the PlayStation 1, that's generally what we're going to be looking at over here. One of the posts that I saw back, if you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old, moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights and maximum humbuzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. And again, up until this point, when these things, when the Backrooms was introduced, this was the only level that we knew. Level 0, the lobby, the tutorial section. Now there's like 999 levels, and not a lot of them are good. But let's get into the actual video over here. Let's get watching this one.
Rolling.
All right, and action.
So first off, they're just directing the movie over here. 7A is the scene, but I'm actually trying to identify what the movie over here is, like what they're actually trying to film. And I really can't, they're not actually mentioning anything in the production title, but okay. So they're out by the trailer over here just filming the scene. And what's going to happen is one of them are going to no-clip into like the Backrooms.
Cut.
So they're cutting over here.
All right, that was good. I'm thinking we get a wide angle and then we're done. Okay?
All right. Yeah, cool. Like how much further? Like
a little more. A little more. Okay.
For those wondering how these VHS effects are done, basically you can actually take any video and just like actually go to a real VHS and just film the whole thing to get that original VHS static effect. That's the only like proper way to do it. If you try doing it in like After Effects or like just video in general, it does become apparent if an editor sees it or anybody in that department. This was actually done from what I can see on like a real VHS effect, like a real VHS box. So kudos on that little touch right there. Now, of course, you've actually no-clipped into the Backrooms, and this is where the entire thing begins. Now again, you can see that just if you look real closely, it is a Blender CGI thing. This is not actually being in the Backrooms. Now, to understand very basically, well, how do you clip into the Backrooms? Okay, to understand, there's a lot of stuff that you got to get down. Okay, this is like a very deep lore piece. I guess the best way to describe what a no clip is, it's kind of like falling through the ground in Grand Theft Auto or like any video game where you go to like one portion of the land that doesn't check check for collision, and all of a sudden you're falling through it, and that's basically no clipping into hell, okay? If you ever play the old game Doom, there's a couple codes you can enter where you can just go through walls. Sometimes you go far enough, and the game has problems rendering anything because you're actually out of, like, you know, cogent map data. That's effectively what you're doing, right? There isn't a for-sure way to do this, it just happens at random intervals. There are some tips to increase your chances of getting there. Walls that are a shade darker in abandoned buildings. Doors that look like they shouldn't lead anywhere or in a random place. Any area that gives paranormal feelings. Hair standing up, buzzing, electric currents, sense of unease. Missing the last step on a flight of stairs and falling on your face. This usually does not work. Only in very select flights of stairs, the anomalous properties of said stairs disappearing moving after 2 or so entries using this method. And then interacting with a corrupted object, such as a glitched chair. Again, there's like an element of Matrix nonsense over here. But once you've fallen into it, these are the few things you have to get into. You have to accept your fate. You can't panic, because panicking causes you to lose your senses and make noise, which causes the entities to show up. And panicking is just bad in general. Step 2, make a mental note of your surroundings and determine which level you've landed in. Step 3, accept the Backrooms as your new home, because you will not be returning to Earth ever again. Yeah, once you no-clipped, I don't even know if that's entirely true, but you're basically fucked. So let's get back to the entire movie here. So yeah, you can see that it's all just entirely CG. Obviously, they're gonna go to like an actual place and film this. In fact, the original image, no one really has even a clue where it was like taken like a photo of. Some people have said it's like a, you know, office complex, an old like video game, like it's just an old like a complex. But over here, you've actually seen one entity that has shown up. Now, this is the entity that's actually known as 6 Arms, okay? That basically just, you know, just hit itself. We're gonna look at that a little bit later, but just to understand, there are a couple entities roaming around. Now, to understand, there's got to be a trick to when you, like, have to, you know, find your way out of the back rooms. I think my favorite trick is to basically hold one side of the wall and just stick to it, because that's probably the best way to not get lost in a place where you can't even get your cardinal directions or bearings down. But from what I understand, every room in the back rooms, or at least level 0, is unique in terms of how it's designed. It's not like procedurally generated out here. But here's like one ladder that takes you to the next cogent area of the back rooms. So let's see where we go to. Let's see if our boy can make it all the way to, like, you know, level 2. All right, let's see if we can get past the lobby. Yeah, if you look real good on the textures of the wall, you can definitely identify it's a Blender animation. Like, you can definitely see the texturing in a video game for sure. Or, like, it's definitely.
Can anybody hear me? Hello.
You shouldn't be making noise.
Damn it.
Oh, you saw him right there in the corner there. Bam! You saw it. You saw it right there. You saw it right there. Ah! It's hiding. It is hiding indeed. Yeah, it's like definitely just hidden over there in the corner. And that, I think, is the best part of the horror over here, you know? Really just experiencing... Yeah, it's disappeared. Really just experiencing this horror. It's like, it's all observational. There's very little jump scaring, if anything. Oh, there you go. The arrows are pointing to locations that you probably shouldn't go. I would not trust something like this, but you do it. I think what adds to the overall, like, fear is the camera movement, you know? Just, it adds that extra bit of realism. And here we've got some graffiti on the wall. So let's see what's actually written over here. We've gotten a window that points with the sun coming in. And of course, windows are in fact an entity in the back rooms. You don't go near windows. You go near windows, there's things in those windows, and they will kill you. What is this? Don't move, stay still. Oh, no. And there it is, boys. There it is. Oh, shit. Now you gotta start running from that. Yeah, see how fast it moves up to you? How close it gets? Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can't get VHS effects like this if you actually don't use a real VHS box for it. And it's still hunting you down. Here it is. This is where like your mental state. Oh, there it is in the corner. Let's go back and get a good idea of it in this area. Hold on. There it is. There it is. And if it's one thing that'll tell you right now that this is a Blender animation, look at this right wall over here, and as you like go past a little bit forward, it's actually no clipping. Oh my god. It is no clipping out of here. Oh jeez, it also does not appear to be casting no, it is casting. It does actually no, it does no, it's casting shadows. It's casting a shadow over. That is freaky, man. It's literally just a stick figure just hunting it down. And of course you got one little jump down here. You go there, you break your legs, and now one would think you're in the next area. So this appears to kind of be level 1, but it isn't. Okay, level 1 is kind of like more industrial in nature, which we'll actually get to check real quick. Now that area that you just saw going in actually reminds me a bit of the habitable zone, which is level 1. Of course, this is connected obviously to level 0 and the crossroads. But that also said though, you can go back from level like 1 all the way back to 0, which we're actually about to see now. So they can actually kind of look outside, and it almost feels like the area is repeating itself to an extent, you know? Yeah, nobody knows what it is. This entire geometry looks so odd. Actually, no, this doesn't really seem like an industrial place. They've got like one dumpster just sitting around over here. I don't know if this is necessarily level 1. Or, sorry, level 2. But they've got waste management. And that's a logo that's very common. But obviously, you can see that this is a much more cleaner section. And will they be hunted down? That's going to be the real question. Yeah, look at that. That is insane. This is like this is being stuck in a hell.
This isn't real.
It doesn't look real. This almost looks like a crossroad section, like a nuclear silo type deal. But we're obviously walking through an office area. The office area is not level 4 in this situation, but here we've got the fire exit, and this is one of those things that's going to lead us all the way back to level 0. Yep, the staircase. And we're back. We came back to the lobby, boys. There's no escape. Once you're stuck in here, you're stuck in here like we saw earlier. He's gonna get hit once more. Just watch this. He's gonna get raided. Again, one thing that I will say is if you like actually put your hand onto one side of the wall, that's probably your best bet on not getting lost. But this thing is stalking him in the area, and look at that movement there. Looks like a goddamn Enderman from like Minecraft. Oh, there it is. It saw you. It saw you. It saw you. It literally saw you. This thing has like perception level 100. And you're gonna get jump scared here for sure. And if we do get jump scared, yeah, it's probably safer to slide. And there it is. That is what the actual creature looks like, as you can see. A close-up rendition of it. It is like thin. It is like barely transparent. And yeah, there's some aspects of motion blur that are kicking, but that's the actual character. It's tossed you, and you're headed into hell, basically. Or you've no-clipped back into reality, or at least your camera has, and it's falling all the way from orbit to the ground. And that, my friends, has more horror in it, on a fraction of the budget compared to most of the horror movies out there. So all in all, that is actually one of the finest, like, sort of pieces on the backroom media that I've actually ever seen. And again, when it always comes to, like, these scary stories and threads and creepypastas and, like, you know, horror things on the internet, the best things always have the best media attached to it. Now, for those of you who haven't been following the Backrooms since the last time we looked into it, it's developed an entire lore set out there. There's entire wikis that have been covering the situation. Just a cursory glance at their levels show you enigmatic levels, sub-layers, so layers within the levels within those levels. But you can actually see they've got levels all the way from 0 to 99, which is sort of the original normal level list. And of course, the first one is tutorial level that we've seen. So the first actual section, which is the most popular area of the entire, you know, or the one most well-known area of the backroom. And of course, even according to this, it says no entities exist, despite us actually seeing an entity in that entire video, which obviously we had to have seen simply for the actual horror to kick in. Any video game that has the backrooms in it, and there are quite a few good ones out there. For instance, there's one where like it's all done within virtual reality. So if you actually have a VR headset like a Vive or an Oculus device or an Index or whatever VR headsets that exist, that's actually a game you should absolutely try. Even if you set the monster to not exist, just wandering around liminal spaces is definitely a creepy environment. I think the VR adds the effect to it. And honestly, you could probably recreate this actual found footage movie just through that if you wanted to, with enough editing and whatnot. Like from a lore perspective, you probably wouldn't have seen that entity chilling around lore like level 0 if anything. But one of the simplest ways to kind of look at it is like the main 9, which is sort of the 9 actual layers of the actual, back rooms. Of course, level 0 being the one that we've seen, but then you've also got level 1, which is the habitable zone, which is I think exactly what we saw midway into that video when we started to look into that just massive like hellscape, like the sort of like nuclear underground area with the one weird dumpster hidden in that liminal space. Of course, that's level 1, which connected you all the way back to level 0 via fire exit. The pipe dream section, which consists of long, dim, concrete maintenance hallways with steam pipes lining the walls and ceiling. So again, this is just like one photo of it. And again, I don't know if that's an entity or like a human being walking through it. Again, the further you go into it, the less there actually exists of people, okay? Again, most people would be stuck in level 0, all right? Most people would be stuck here, and they'd probably go insane 99% of the times. Level 3 would actually be where it starts getting unsafe, which is the electrical station right here, as you can see. Of course, it kind of looks more like a prison block, if anything, which, again, this whole thing is a prison block. Level 4 is actually reminiscent of what we saw towards the tail end of that video with how open things got, or how, like, weird it ended up becoming. This is, like, the office space area. And, yeah, this is more open, but of course, that's generally what we're getting, the abandoned office. Of course, the 9th level that they have is, like, it was what we've got as the cave system, which actually reminds me a lot of Ted the Caver, that creepypasta, which, like, if you have any form of, like, claustrophobia, you definitely don't want to be reading that one late at night, okay? It will actually, like, trigger something within you. But this is, like, where we've gotten to in one wiki. Of course, if you go into the main one over here, you can actually see that they've got, like, 999 of them. Of course, not all of them actually have entries, simply due to the fact that there's not a whole lot of... Of course, in the actual, like, one of the main wikis, you can actually see that they've got, like, 999 levels that they've worked on. Of course, a lot of them actually have no data, simply due to the fact that not a lot of them are actually finished, okay? No one's going to sit there and make a 999 rooms. And of course, not all of these entries are actually really good. But one thing to understand is some of them, a lot of them, a lot of the ones that are there actually do have like a lot of media. So for instance, level 901, which for those of you who are wondering, are the backrooms entirely located within something? No, some of them actually take place out in the great, outdoors and whatnot. For instance, level 901, which is one that I was reading like, a couple days ago, which is actually a large stretch of land. And it actually, if you look close into it, it's got like a monochromatic look to it. And if anything, if you play the game Death Stranding and you're walking around on the beach, that is what immediately hits you in the head. In fact, if anything, out in the distance, you can see that it's got like a Silent Hill vibe, like a really crazed, like cursed town off in the distance. And if the worst thing comes to worst, forests in monochromatic colors are the scariest thing out there. If you ever walk through a forest like this is absolutely this is actually like deathly scary shit, especially when it gets like dark and you're starting to lose your way into it. Forests are without a doubt one of the scariest places on God's green earth that I've ever actually encountered. Of course, one of the aspects of the backrooms that I actually don't really find too engagingly funny from time to time is like the amount of extra lore they've put into it that almost detracts from the mystery. See, for me, like when it comes to scary things on the internet, the more mystery that you can add, within reason of course, the scarier things become, because usually my brain is like putting in the actual extra details. But here they actually got like explorer groups, so literally there are governmental systems now in the backrooms lore. For instance, the MEG, which is the major explorer group, is the actual like governing body, or one of the main governing bodies in the area. For instance, they've actually got security forces, science forces, local directors, councils, mayors of like certain areas, certain locations. They've got their own facilities and whatnot. In fact, they've got their own honorable members. Of course, this is where it gets like really insane. You know, there's also other factions like the BNTG, which is the Backrooms National Trade Group. Yeah, this is in fact the merchant class of the Backrooms, which is actually roaming around handing out like food, almond water, which is actually a currency in this world, just to like survivors or people that are wandering the areas. Of course, this is a part of the Backrooms lore, which I think has gone excessively too far. This doesn't really add any fear to me. I don't think a location like the Backrooms really even needs lore, which involves governmental bodies and like agencies and like factions and whatnot. That's going a bit too far in my opinion. But yeah, for the actual entity that we did see, that was actually known as Six Arms, which again, this is exactly what I believe. This is Six Arms found in level 0. So again, one of the cool things about the Backroom, once again, if you go through a lot of these levels, they actually have like corresponding media that helps you add that visual like layer into your head when you're actually like imagining this shit too. It's actually worth the read. Seriously, this is going to take some like days out of your life if you actually really absorb the entire Backrooms lore. The entity appears to be attracted to stress. So again, if you actually encountered it like the person did in the video, you keep a small amount of sugar on your person if possible. Avoid obviously stressful situations, listen for its noises, and run away if the environment suddenly darkens. Any attempt to fight it is actually a do not. You do not use a flashlight when it approaches. I think the best way to say is you stretch your ass and just accept what's coming to you if you come across it. I'll be real, if I got stuck in the Backrooms like that, I'd accept whatever's coming to me, okay? Like a real champ. I will say though, what incites me the most about this, what like really like excites me about the Backrooms a lot is I'm one of those people that unironic, like I genuinely believe that we live in computer simulations, you know what I mean? Like you can't disprove that we don't live in a giant computer simulation, right? Like something above us is like we're in literally a computer which is like processing our entire world as a realm, and we're just sort of like living life as, you can't disprove that notion. So do I firmly believe that we can no-clip out of the actual realm that we exist in and server swap to a Backrooms realm that exists on the same computer, another virtual machine, so to believe? That's something that I actually genuinely think of. Now, do I think the Backrooms is real? Honestly, no, it's a piece of media that was created on 4chan, and that's pretty much what the entire story concludes too. But do I believe that there's other realms, multiverses that we connect to? Absolutely. I think we firmly live in a computer simulation, if anything. It's the best way to dictate. When I see human beings like us create artificial intelligence and virtual worlds and metaverses, I think for a second, can there be an entity beyond us that can do the exact same? Has it already happened? Do we live in a simulation within a simulation within a simulation? Because the moment we start simulating actual artificial intelligence, and if it ever becomes sentient, I think that automatically proves that there is a great possibility that the exact same thing that we just made is the exact same thing that we are. You know what I mean? Like that's why I choose to believe it. And that's why the Backrooms is such an alluring piece of like creepypasta to me, because I genuinely do think that you could no-clip into another server somewhere. And once you do that, will you be lost in a place that is as liminal as level 0? Maybe. But all in all, that was a pretty epic video that we watched, and I wanted to sort of watch it, share my experience with you together, and sort of open your like mind's eye, you know, a little bit more to the Backrooms, which is not only evolved, it's become an entire entity of its own. So that being said though, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mutahar, and it's time to no-clip.